this is Parzival. I also go by Will, and we are back for another character babble. This is actually an OC that I haven't drawn in a very long time, as you can see from the reference pictures that I'm drawing the character headshot from, and his name is Mikey. His full name is Michelangelo Cruz. But before I get into the actual character babble, just a reminder, if you guys want to just mute me and watch the speed paint, it's totally fine, I totally understand, and feel free to do that at your leisure. For those who are sticking around for me just chatting about my characters aimlessly, this is Mikey. He is a character I created way back in like 2013-ish, 2014-ish, maybe a little bit earlier, because the art on the left looks like it might be from like 2010, 2011. He is a pretty old character, and he's actually pretty tropey in terms of like character concept. I made him for fun because I decided that I was going to clone my OC in a dramatic Harry Potter AU, and then I kind of felt bad for the clone because the clone ended up dying, so I just kept the clone around and gave my character a twin brother instead. And I don't know if a lot of people work like that. A lot of the times my characters... it's been described to me before by someone I'm not really talking to much anymore, but it's been described before as my characters develop family, they go through mitosis, and by that, generally, it's like... excuse the annoying buzzing in the background, that's my phone. But it's been described before as they, like, have a clone, or they have traits that no longer fit their character because I was using them in an AU or an RP, and I didn't like how those traits worked anymore, and so I took those traits and, like, turned them into a sibling character, or something like that. So a character I had, Cole, who used to be a villain, his more villainous traits ended up going to his brother, Reynard, and Cole ended up the more oblivious, kind of cheerful character he is now. And Mikey was kind of like that. I really enjoy a lot of sort of fae and fairy sort of stories, and so the concept of doppelgangers and replacement people is a concept that I work with a lot, and a lot of characters I have are actually from that concept because I like playing around in that sort of world a lot. And Mikey was basically made as a clone or a fetch, like a character who was made to replace a different character in the RP for dramatic purposes and pretend to be them without actually knowing they were them. So like a changeling child, except for adults. And that's generally considered to be what's called a fetch. At least that's the grammar I'm familiar with. I don't know if it's widespread, but that's what I'm at least familiar with. And so Mikey was originally created when my character D'Angelo, or Dean, got copied and was replaced. And then they rescued Dean, and Mikey in the original RP was actually killed by Dean for being a clone because Dean was a horrible person. And the main reason they recognized that Dean wasn't Dean and was the clone was that the clone was a much nicer person and a much more romantic person, a lot better at relationships, and a lot more compatible with his friends and family. And so what ended up happening was, because I felt so bad that I killed off the clone, who really didn't deserve it, I gave Dean a quote-unquote secret twin brother, which is always a trope, isn't it? It's always like one of those cheesy tropes. But because Dean in his actual like canon universe is royalty, the concept of bastard children isn't exactly unheard of, and it's slightly less tropey there. And so basically what happened was that it was kind of like a Zeus sort of scenario. Dean's mom actually had 2 kids. She didn't want her husband to know she had twins, so she had the twins sent away to a different family, while the elder twin, in this case Dean, was given to Antonio as his son. So she ended up having a child that escaped the whole corrupted royalty system. And she named them D'Angelo and Michelangelo, and D'Angelo goes by Dean, Michelangelo goes by Mikey, and because Mikey grew up in a much different sort of environment, a much more pleasant and happy sort of, like, a much more happy sort of family that wasn't burdened by royalty and wasn't burdened by the expectations of authority, he ended up being a lot more, I don't really want to say a moral person, because the entire story about the Vasquez family is about how morals and conflicts and ideals are sort of subjective, but not really. But Mikey ended up as a much more relatable, human, nice person than Dean was, who didn't have to worry about government officials or blackmail or stuff like that. Technically, while he is Dean's twin, he is fraternal. They do have that trope of, like, identical fraternal traits, so they do look very similar in the face, to the point where they can, like, be mistaken for each other if they put their hair in a different way in the same way or something like that. But they aren't actually identical twins. Unlike Dean, Mikey has a lot of allergies, including latex and strawberries. Those are the two that I always distinctly remember. I'm pretty sure he's allergic to other stuff, like different sorts of food dyes, like different sorts of raspberry colored food dyes, so we can't have, like, red 13 or something like that. I don't know food dyes. I know that there's a certain red food dye that you can't have, like, artificial raspberry colored stuff and red velvet cake, which sucks. Especially sucks for Mikey because he's a romantic person and he wants people to like him and he wants to do the stereotypical romantic thing and be super sweet to everyone and have an adorable wife and family, and that's not gonna happen for him, unfortunately, because he also has Huntington's, and so that makes him settling down a big problem because he wants to be truthful and doesn't want to get into a relationship without someone knowing about the fact that he has Huntington's, and it might cause problems in the future. And unfortunately for him, a lot of people that he's tried to date in the past have not been so keen on the concept of their significant other having a terminal illness, which really, really sucks for him, and he continues to try. He has not lost faith yet, but he's just a sweetheart who just wants to find a nice girl or boy to settle down with. He's not really, like, super aware of, like, I'm not going to say he's not super aware of the concept of bisexuality. He is absolutely aware of that, but he's not super aware of whether he has, like, a preference for one gender or not another, but he just loves people and loves relationships. But yeah, that's about it from Mikey today, and I will send you guys to the outro. Which, by the way, I know I usually use this icon for my outro, but I actually have a new outro done by my sister Brooke-Chen, which I still cannot pronounce properly, but my sister Chen has made me a new intro, so I'm going to be using that from now on, and I wanted to let you guys know that. Well, that's the end of this video. As usual, if you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them down below in the comment section, or contact me on any of my social media, which is linked in the description below. I also have my Patreon there if you guys want to throw a monthly donation at me. Thanks so much for your support. I'll see you next time. Bye!